Hey Spuddies, PotatoMcWhiskey here, and welcome back to Let's Play Civilization 6 as the Gaul. Now, where we stand in the game, we're quite a bit behind in terms of science, and I think realistically our best way to win the game is actually going for a science victory, so I think that's what we're going to focus on. We have tremendous production to actually produce scientific buildings, so that's what we're going to be doing. And with any spare production, we're going to be doing things like expanding our trade route capacity and working scientist projects. It also might be worth my while to maybe try to capture some of this terrain over here, even if it's just to liberate it. So I'm going to start redirecting my upgraded army over to the east. Let's grab Filippo for extra wonder construction ability. That said, I don't have a whole lot of wonders that I actually want to choose from. The only thing I'm kind of considering is the University of Saint-Cor for a little bit of extra science, and that's probably not a terrible idea, especially if I plant it right here. I'll be able to get extra adjacency on a theater square here if I wanted to, so we'll pop that down here and head Filippo over to clean that out. I also got myself another settler. I've been in cities where I don't really have much to do. I've been either working campus research grants or building settlers. Nice. Wow, that actually took 8 turns off of the University of Saint-Cor, so we should be able to build that in 2 turns with Filippo. Let's grab natural history so we can get archaeologists in the few theatre squares that we do have, as well as zoos, and then we'll head over towards ideology and then potentially democracy or communism. Filippo again, and now we're only 1 turn away from finishing the University of Saint-Cor, which will significantly increase my science and great people generation in the city. Very, very happy with finishing that, and it looks like China has a bit of a problem with me. But this is going to be nice for a potential theatre square, as I was saying, to give us that little bit of extra culture. Our culture gain is really, really good thanks to our mines, but if we do want more, we have the option. Alright, we'll go ahead and pillage Hamburg for 200 gold and steal a builder. There's a crossbowman here that I'll have to deal with, but that shouldn't be too hard. Wonderful! We have entered the industrial era. We are in a golden age. A couple other people are, but it looks like Germany and the Congo are not in golden ages, which means there might be some free real estate like Hamburg, Magdeburg, Mainz, and Mabanza Mabata for us to pick up, because we already have Hamburg surrounded. And I think the crossbowman that was in this city just kind of like, I don't know, like jumped off a cliff or something because it's no longer there. But we're slowly bringing over bombards to start conquering this. We have lots of cavalry on the way from the west as well. And I think we're potentially in a really, really good position to actually take some land. Even if we can't take the city right away, we will grab a little bit of science from pillaging the campus and stuff like that. You know, the 124 science that we get from this would take a while for the university to actually produce if we even were to take over the city. So it's better that we get the short-term gain now. All right, there's a couple of musketmen that we have to deal with, and Magdeburg is flipping back. That's going to take 10 turns, and it's 5 turns until Frankfurt flips independent. And I do have the possibility of maybe taking this for myself, because Germany's pressure is only 10 higher than mine. So if I came into Bibrax, for example, and, oh, I never actually built my entertainment complex here, darn. I'd meant to do that. Oh, I built an encampment, that's right. I really love niter mines in the desert, because it makes a city like Lutetia, or whatever it's called, just so much better, because it means I have that little bit of extra food that I can kind of justify working high production, or maybe even growing the city slightly. I think for now, I'm going to justify high production so I can get the basic buildings in here faster. And I also have my oppidum placed, and it's a really, really good oppidum. It's going to be at least, I think, a +4, maybe even +5, depending on how many mines I get up. Let's nail this musketman. We'll take a moment to bring you back to heal. We'll bring you forward. We're bringing everyone forward, basically, to be in position on the city. This crossbowman needs to heal. This archer needs to upgrade. This swordsman needs to upgrade. But everyone else, I think, is mostly fine. This guy's just continuing to pillage to get me extra era score and extra science and stuff like that so I can build my factories. Speaking of which, my gold is a little bit weak right now, so I might want to think about maybe setting up a trade deal. I have a ton of diplo favor and a ton of resources to sell. So if I go to the resources mode here, I can see I'm the only one who's generating coal. There's quite a few people who could maybe use some niter. There's nobody who needs iron and a couple of people who needs horses. So I'll talk to Mavemba because he has the greatest need for strategics right now, and see if he wants to buy any. Right, so we're going to go ahead and sell him 8 horses, 29 niter, and 30 diplomatic favor for 20 gold per turn. I also have some spare luxury resources that he might pay a good deal for. Only 5 gold per turn, it's not good enough. Similar story for PotatoMcWhiskey. I'm going to go ahead and sell him 24 horses, 30 niter, and 30 diplomatic favor for 25 gold per turn. He does not pay well for my luxuries. He might already have some of these, so I'll need to see. Yeah, he's only paying 3 gold per turn, which isn't enough. Gatarja will pay me 19 gold and 4 gold, or 90 gold per turn and 4 gold for 40 iron, 4 niter, and 30 diplomatic favor. I'm just selling off little chunks of my assets to get my gold income up to a reasonable level. Now we're making about 67 gold per turn, which isn't an amazing amount of gold, but it will mean that we'll be able to keep our army updated. If we want to save a little bit of cash and have a stronger army as well, it's good to combine units together. You can see here, when you combine a unit, the maintenance of that unit is the combined maintenance of the 2 combined units minus 1. So if you have 2 units that cost 4 maintenance each and you combine them together, you will then cost 7 maintenance. So it's a little bit cheaper, you have a slightly stronger units, and it's overall just a really good move generally. I only have access to 1 coal inside my empire, which really just isn't good enough. I am definitely going to have to try to find some more. There is some up here to the far north, and I think I will send a settler up there. And the reason I need so much coal is because I have so many industrial zones, so I'm going to be running a lot of buildings that take power. Naturally, that means my demand for coal is going to be really high. I could even maybe sneak in over here with a settler from one of these cities to see if I can grab this coal. There's 2 pieces of coal within pretty close range of each other, and that's going to be pretty nice to pick up if I can pull it off. Tech-wise, since we just finished industrialization, I want to avoid picking up upgrades to my infantry because that's what's going to spawn if my cities flip independent. So I want to avoid them being too strong, and I want to focus on things like cavalry and artillery. And I think it would be good for us to pick up chemistry, but that does require replaceable parts. I could alternatively maybe make my way towards flight and aluminum and stuff like that. But I feel like chemistry is the big move. So I have to think about maybe picking up banks would be good. Do I want to go for military academies? I think I'll pick up military academies, then head towards sanitation, and then that's on the pathway to chemistry. This courser has taken a bit of damage, but there is a nice arena for me to, or entertainment complex for me to pillage nearby, which is fantastic. There's also Preslav's trader here. I could steal a builder. Even if I'm not getting like massive value from fighting these independent cities, I'm getting some value, which is nice, right? Because I am getting some measure of value, right? Because I'm pillaging, I'm capturing builders. So even if I don't capture the cities or I'm forced to like make the cities independent, it's not that big of a deal. I already have an army. I may as well use it for something. We've got our entertainment complex in Lisieux. Now the question is, do I want to go for the arena and the zoo here? It would provide me with a decent amount of amenities in the area, would hit at least this city, and my capital could build the zoo in the end. It's kind of the same thought with the factory. I feel like amenities are lower priority compared to getting my factory bonuses online, hitting as many cities as possible, so I'm going to focus on factories in here. Although that said, Avaricum can build a factory, so I think I will in fact come back here and build the zoo and arena. I'm also going to start training a few skirmishers, because like I've explored quite a decent amount of the map, but I really neglected scouting, and I think a few skirmishers might help me actually understand what's going on, like sort of geopolitically, because I have no idea what's to my west. I have no idea really about anything to my south or east. I have a good idea of what's to the north, but that's really not good enough if I've only found 1 coal up there. Gonna grab an archaeologist in Bibrax to get that extra little bit of culture. I could snatch myself another builder, which is fantastic, and then go back to sieging Hamburg. I've also got my first bombard in range. I'll have the second one in range in a turn. I think I'm going to go ahead and start trying to steal cash from the Congo as well. I should probably maybe send a spy to China, so I'll grab myself another one. Very nice +4 Optimum right here, thanks to the quarry and the strategic. I'm wondering if this musketman will attack me. Yep, he attacked me definitely. So that's a little bit of a concern because I don't really have the attack power or defense power to sustain that for too long. I'm going to have to swing back to pillage here for health and then use the knight as a buffer unit. But that leaves the city sort of open in terms of health regeneration, so I'll have to bring another knight in as well. Nice, we got Leonardo da Vinci. Anyone else is close? No one else is close. We're earning these at like an insane rate. We'll even probably get Gustav Eiffel because we're getting 24 great engineer points per turn. This guy is just handy. He gives you a little bit of extra culture from all your workshops, and since we're building those in every single city, it's like +1 culture per city, which is pretty damn nice. Nowhere near like an amazing bonus, but it does the job. I'm also going to bring over the siege tower. I completely forgot that it was here. I'll bring up some musketmen to see if we can't break this city. In fact, I have units I could upgrade to musketmen. I'm just waiting for another government change to plug in the 50% discount so I can actually update the army that's on the front line here. I might even want to get another pikeman to combine together with this guy. I am leaving this crossbowman over to the west, however, because there was a lot of stuff coming in from here, barbarian-wise. Right, position the knight to put the city under siege, and then start attacking with our bombards to bring the city's health down. I'm okay with Magdeburg flipping. Frankfurt's like 4 turns from flipping 2. But I don't think I can safely attack with a lot of my units. I need to be just careful, slow, careful, methodical. How much experience do I get for attacking here? It's only +2. So it's a very, very slow way to level up your units. But it is level, so that's something to consider, that we can actually level up from doing it. All right, we got the zoo in Tervana. That's providing nice bonuses to nearby cities. We actually have just barely positive amenities in here. The real question is, what's our next step? Do we go for a factory? Do we continue to produce military? I think I could use even more skirmishers. Again, I want to just kind of explore the world a little bit. Although that said, maybe I build a bigger military, because there's some really good cities down here that I could steal. And they only have medieval walls, so maybe a couple of extra musketmen to sort of use my siege tower to assault them would be good. Farm triangle over in Corteron. That gives us a better potential to grow the city, although the city's growth potential isn't great because it doesn't have a whole lot of excess food, nor does it have a whole lot of excess housing. And that's probably going to shape how the city actually pans out. I might just need to like develop more pastures and stuff here, or even maybe just throw down an extra 2 farms here to give the city enough housing to be worth growing. I'm going to harvest the stone, even though it makes a really nice industrial zone right here, because I just expect that I'll have better ones in the Fog of War, and I need this production. This 101 production will sort of skyrocket this city forward and let it actually get to work on its oppidum in a reasonable amount of time. Right, that musketman killed himself on my courser, and I am going to nab myself another builder, which is great. And the city is currently under siege and taking excess damage every turn. I don't really have safe attacks on it, so I'll have to take it next turn. The good news is, though, that we are in we did get a new government, so we can rearrange things. I think conscription is good. I think triangular trade is good, but I can pop out conscription temporarily to plug in professional army just to get more bang for my gold buck. So for example, I can upgrade this archer now for half price and then combine together with this crossbowman. And now I have a unit that is more reasonable in terms of its power. And I can do the exact same thing with this Gazete, who can probably combine together with this musketman to the northeast. Divo Durham is looking great. It has really, really good food, has really, really good housing. It actually only has +3 food, so that's something I might like to remedy. I might force work some more farms and maybe de-work some of these low food tiles. I think I'll keep the niter that's at least 2 food, but I might sacrifice some short-term production for long-term growth by working these fishing tiles, and I think actually that is what I'm going to do. And I'll grab myself a builder in here to continue to accelerate this city's growth. I'm sitting on 8 envoys, and I'm not sure who I want suzerainty of. I think it would be good to get friendship with the Buenos Aires up to level 6. Vatican City I don't think is important. I think Preslav might be a good move as well, so I'll grab their suzerainty. Venice is kind of out of reach right now, so I'll leave them where they are. +2 loyalty per turn for encampment buildings is useful. It looks like our borders have snaked in an unsightly way, so I want to make sure that I'm not wasting this tile when I harvest it, because there's no point putting anything on here except for harvesting it and maybe putting forts on it, because they can't be owned by any of my cities right now, so I may as well harvest them, because otherwise they're useless. Right, let's capture Hamburg. We'll take another 2 shots for a little bit of XP. And then we'll capture it with a horseman unit. Now the loyalty in here is going to be real bad because of the local cities. I could liberate this city for 100 Diplo favor, or I could keep the city and try to hold it myself. I'm going to try keeping it. I might have to recapture it, but if I could maybe get my hands on some other stuff, this would be a good acquisition. Like for example, Magdeburg, if I could grab that. Problem is this is flipping independent as well, so I might be better off moving to Mainz or something. Although, again, if I could get enough loyalty pressure on this, man, yeah, it looks like I'm gonna have a hard time beating out Germany here. They just have far more loyalty pressure. I could steal tech boosts or start recruiting partisans in Quango. I'm not sure what I want to do. Where is their it's over here, so they would probably not do much damage before they just got killed, and it's likely it would only spawn musketmen, which the AI doesn't have a problem dealing with. So I think I'll just keep stealing technology over here. I also have access to cavalry now, so I'm going to start upgrading these guys. 72 combat strength compared to the base 44 of the Courser and the 54 of the Courser Core. So upgrading your units is really, really important. Probably one of the most important things you can do in the game in order to maintain your army strength. Highly, 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 highly recommend it. Boudica will be harvesting my very, very first artifact here. And I think I will grab... Oh, I could get a free cities one. Yeah, I'll grab a free cities artifact. Sure. Now, the nice thing about Hamburg flipping independent is I just repaired this mine. So even if this flips independent, I'll be able to capture this mine and pillage it again. So I'm essentially converting a single build charge into infinite gold by constantly repairing this tile and then pillaging it when the city flips independent. So I'm okay with this happening. Let's start spying on China. I just sent a spy over here because they're that furthest ahead in technology and I need to hurt them the most. I want my guys to steal tech boosts more effectively, so I'm going to vote that up in the World Congress, and I'd like to be culture bombing with my new districts. Even if I don't need it, it denies it from the AI. Alright, looks like steal tech boost and I won, so I got both of the outcomes I want, which is nice also, because it means I got an extra couple of diplomatic victory points as well. I think I'm going to focus Divo Durham on gold income, so I'll come down here and I'll click this gold button, and that'll mean that it'll sort of move all of the citizens where it makes sense over to gold production. Now, that is going to hurt the city in terms of production, because like if I do the same thing, right, I turn off gold focus and turn on production focus, you can see we're making 39 production per turn. But that goes all the way down to 23 production. So almost having the city's gold production to increase its, or having its production to increase its gold production by 5, which is a pretty big dip. However, when you consider I need gold, I'm low on gold income right now, and the city's already churning away on various fronts. The only other thing I could maybe do is run harbor shipping, but that would only give me 15% of my gold as production. So let's imagine I'm losing 20 production here, and I'm converting that into gold, right? So I'm losing 20 production, I'm converting it into about 5 gold, which means I'm getting a 25% return. If I were to run this harbor shipping project, I would only get 15% of that, right? So it's actually more efficient to have a lower production city work these really, really kind of weak gold tiles and run a harbor shipping or do something else with your production than it is to just have really, really high production and run these projects. These projects are not efficient. If you can, always try to get the yields that you're looking for from those projects from the actual tiles themselves. And this is what's nice about this feature here, that I can just kind of say, I need gold. This is a city that has gold potential. A lot of its tiles have gold, and I can get it. I do wish there was a more traditional sort of gold tile improvement, kind of like in Civ 5 and stuff like that, like the village, maybe something worth modding in. And if we contrast that whole statement with a city like Lycio, if I go ahead and click gold focus, the city makes like 1 extra gold. Like that's really, really, so hopefully that can kind of help illustrate why I'm doing that, why I'm hurting this city, Divodurum, so much for 5 gold per turn. It's because gold is really hard to get. The only way I could get gold in this city is to build a commercial hub and then work commercial hub projects. I could also do that with a harbor actually, but I feel like the commercial hub would be more efficient. So I may actually do that, even though my adjacency on my commercial hub would be really, really low. I still think it would be worth it to do it, just because I'm not struggling for yields like science or production, and I really am struggling for gold. Anyway, like I was saying, I think a commercial hub is the right move in here because it gives me a more efficient way to convert production into gold. Now, immediately, the short-term return is much lower, but once I actually build the market and bank, I'll have a much higher return on investment. Especially because I'll be able to convert my production into gold using the commercial hub project. So I'm just going to throw one down. It doesn't need good adjacency. It's mostly for the trade route and for the gold from the building and specialist slots. Oh, looks like I've actually managed to catch up with the Congo science, because the Steel Tech Boost mission in the city of Kwango is no longer valid. If I go check here, that's interesting. Either I've researched everything they have, or I have all the boosts for all the technologies that they've unlocked already. And so what that means is this spy needs to find something else to do. I think stealing money might be the best use of my spy's time. this is equivalent to about an extra 40 gold per turn. Considering I'm only making about 46 gold per turn, that's not a bad return on investment on a spy. Alan Turing will give me a couple of tech boosts, well, notably radio and computers, which means he represents a significant amount of science, because those are actually fairly expensive techs. If I come up to computers, now I'll probably have this unlocked before I get it. This normally costs 1,660, so I get 40% of that from him, and I think he also boosted radio. And there's probably a low chance I actually get a national pack this game, so he probably got me about 1,000 science there, which isn't bad, right? It's a pretty good return on investment from a great scientist. I got another city settled up here to start getting coal, because I will be building my coal power plants here very shortly, and we'll be consuming coal at an enormous rate. We've got 8 turns to take the city. We have 2 bombards in range, and we're also moving cavalry in range. We've got a ton of tiles to pillage as well to net ourselves some really nice science and gold. I should probably plug in the raid card, but that's not that big of a deal. Mostly I'm looking to maybe pillage the city, capture it, potentially liberate it to Germany. But I really like, again, I know I've talked about this before, but I really like that this mode gives you things to do with your army during sort of quote-unquote peacetime, because like I'm not actually at war, but here I am sort of participating in some warlike endeavors, and that actually kind of gives me the feel of, like, you know, kind of almost foreign intervention. Like there's been some sort of rebellion in Germany, and I'm moving in to sort of help them take care of it, or potentially take advantage of the situation. It's just like an interesting little RP thing that I really like. Now, there's only about 26 turns left in this era, and while we are in a golden age, that might not be true next era. So I am going to want to start thinking about army recruitment and also army positioning. Where are my cities likely to rebel? So I'll need to have an army in position. In particular, it might be a good idea for me to unlock artillery in the near future, perhaps even before I get chemistry, although we'll see about that. Commercial hub finished in Lyceum. How close am I to picking up banking? Yeah, I think I'll grab rangers and then pick up banking, and then maybe make my way towards sanitation, because I want to be able to build banks. This is only plus 3 gold per turn, right? But it will also give me the ability to get another plus 4 by working the tile. And again, my gold is so weak right now because I've built almost no gold producing things in my entire empire. Culture bomb to the coal, and then we'll grab that coal. Dividorum has a really nice food surplus of 6. It's not an amazing food surplus by any stretch of the imagination, but it is a decent one when you consider that it's making me some good cash. I'm kind of not sure whether or not I want to work this culture tile. Or do I want to work gold? I feel like this production is worth a little bit more to me. This is just such a high production tile that it's worth it. A lot of my projects are going to be finishing this turn. Things like the zoos, military academies, and markets and stuff like that. Like there's urbanization as well. Now urbanization, that's another thing we might want to look into. If we build some of those, I believe there is the shopping mall building that can potentially give us amenities and gold. So that's another source of gold for us. This is a way for us to convert production into gold and amenities. And so we always want to be looking for things we can efficiently convert our production into that will help us sort of move towards winning the game. I am a little bit worried about China's science right now. I am catching up, but scientifically, they're probably not far off researching rocketry. And so I have to be wary and ready for that. My capital completed the zoo, so now I need to maybe work into a factory, because the coal power plant would give me an extra 14 production in this city, which is a massive amount of production by any stretch of the imagination. So spending a bit of time doing that, I think, is absolutely worthwhile. The question is, do I build a neighborhood in here? We are kind of capped on population, and where would I actually put the neighborhood? I would kind of want to maybe put it somewhere out of the way. That's not going to be like a major problem for me. I don't need it for the housing. I mostly actually want it for the gold potential with the shopping mall. Now the downside is that the neighborhood can be a source of spy stuff, right? They can create spies out of it. So I'll need to build probably an encampment beside it, and have it occupied and nearby tiles that I don't want to get pillaged. So that's something to keep in mind. Is it really worth it to build a neighborhood with the potential for spies to sort of mess your shit up is really high? And man, I'm having a hard time thinking about that one. I think in the case of my capital, I think it's a yes. So I will go ahead and throw it down, but it might not be true for other cities. But having it placed is okay. I would have liked to have placed it on a farm to get the extra gold from, public infrastructure, but it is what it is. Oh, the nice thing about neighborhoods is they can actually be built adjacent to your city center as the Gaul, which most other things can't be. And I could actually use the extra housing. We're kind of at a housing limit. So I think pretty much everywhere that I have like too much of a housing problem, I might go ahead and do this. Now, I want to be careful about exact positioning on this because there could be some downsides. I really should have got a builder in here and then chopped out that, but it's like slight efficiencies and stuff like that is fine. We're going to go for the coal power plant in here. This is only a +3 coal power plant, actually because we need another builder. So I'll get that builder first because builders are extremely useful. Let's also plug in conscription to get a little bit more cash back on our army. Back up to 64 gold per turn, which is pretty respectable. We're also working on Frankfurt. We have 2 bombards in range. We can bring the defense of the city down. We have 7 turns to take it and plenty of pillaging to do as well. So that's something worth considering. Beautiful. So we pillaged a bunch of sites. We get our banks up. In fact, that might actually change what I'm building in Laisu because I need the banks as soon as I can get them. 7 gold is a huge amount, especially since I got to be putting this city on gold focus. Oh, I don't want it to work that. So you know what? Gold focus might not work for me here because this is just such a terrible tile. I tell you what, I'll tell it to focus on production, gold, but avoid food, and maybe that. Well, yeah, that'll do the job for me, I think, if I unlock everything. So it'll value production over food and gold over food. So that means it will work the specialist slot. If I see the city is failing to grow, I can always just come in and lock food tiles in. But it also means by locking food here and locking production, it means that the city won't just go ahead and work this really, really terrible tile for +1 gold, which I don't want it to do. So I'll tell it to focus on production. Now, what I don't want to do is to tell it to focus on food as well, because then it won't prioritize the commercial hub tile. So I tell it to kind of just ignore food, leave it as is, focus on gold and production. It's probably a good idea to pick up economics. I'm that hungry for gold that I really just need to get some stock exchanges. Plus, it'll make the actual citizens I put into my commercial hubs much more efficient. Nice, we completed all 3 buildings in the encampment district, getting me 4 era score. We also ran into Poundmaker of the Cree, who's all the way over here in the fog of war. Speaking of which, did I ever finish those scouts? I got one over here, who I can use to scout this northern area. I got another one on the way to try and get over that way. All right, Frankfurt. Continue to bombard the city. The defenses are almost down. We're also pillaging the hell out of this place, trying to extract as much short-term value out of this city as humanly possible. Let's grab that builder as well. We have a siege tower in range, which means we can get efficient attacks on the city with some of our units, namely our musketmen, who are just much better at attacking cities thanks to the King of the Eperones trait. So I might even be better off just kind of trying to bring musketmen down that way and position them around the city to provide combat adjacency bonuses. This poor knight is trying to defend a city from these independent units, and it's not going amazingly well because he doesn't have any way to deal damage to them without taking damage, and this city is already flipping independent as well. Now, we got the military academy in Baggy, and if we want a cavalry corps, we could start to work on it, and then once we finish mobilization, we could move on to building a cavalry army. I think I would much rather focus on getting these units upgraded with sort of combining them with units I have that exist. So I would probably want like something in the region of 2 more bombards, another 2 cuirassiers, more cavalry. I can always do a little bit of combining, but I definitely want a couple more cavalry. So probably at least 1 more cavalry unit. So if I set up my order, it would be something like a cavalry, a couple of bombards, and then that would be a pretty good order for this city to complete. But I'm only going to give it half of that. I'm going to give it the cavalry and cuirassier orders for now. And we'll look to other cities to help fill that. Like we've got the military academy in here. And so it would be good maybe to get this to pick up 2 of the bombard orders that I need to upgrade my army once I have mobilization. Now, Dario Ritum is an alright city. We have a campus, we have an oppidum. We don't have the oppidum built up. We have decent gold potential in this city, actually. If I were to go for a sort of harbor campus setup, or harbor commercial hub setup, maybe, especially with like the mines that are around here. I could maybe get up to +2 adjacency. Maybe I put a commercial hub here, get that up to a reasonable adjacency as well. There's definitely potential here for this city to be a gold generating city because it's coastal. Coastal cities, good for gold generation. That's something you should keep in mind. I definitely want a builder to improve these 2 lumber mills so that it can produce things quicker. So I'll get a builder in here. And then what I'm going to be doing is building a harbor. And that will give me extra housing in this city, which will allow me to actually build the commercial hub adjacent to that. So that's sort of the pathway forward for this city. I could alternatively go ahead and grab myself a neighborhood, and I could just slap it down on this kind of semi-useless desert tile. And that would give me the housing that I need, because this city actually has a massive food surplus. It's just all being multiplied by a very harsh housing penalty. So I guess if I were to go for the neighborhood, that would give this city extra time to grow, and then I would get the builder, and then I would get the harbor, and then this city is on the pathway to make me extra gold and be a significant contributor to my economy. Hopefully those little moments like that where I talk through my economic plans are actually super useful for you. Mostly I've just been pillaging to save my abysmal economy. Oh, actually, speaking of, this place is already producing cavalry. So is that all right? Let me see. It would be 1, 2, 3, 4. So I would need 4 cavalry. Or I could just cancel this and build 1 cuirassier and then combine these all together. And also cancel this and instead go for a couple of musketmen. And I think that's a much better layout. So I have my army size increasing, but it's increasing the power of my individual units rather than the total size of my army. My recommendation is always harvest like forests or jungle on a tile, especially into the late game. The woods on this tile gives me +1 production per turn, but I'm only going to be working it for another maybe 100 turns at most. That's 100 production. If I chop right now, I get 111 production immediately, building me a granary and a watermill and a monument, getting all of these things done incredibly quickly. And then I can go back and just put a mine on this anyway and end up with a really productive tile. So I feel like that short-term sort of boost is so worth it. Let's gain sources in China with our spy. I would like to know more about China. I don't see a lot in the fog of war. It does look like they're building the Orzgazg. Canada has, I wouldn't call this forward settling, but they've definitely plonked a city right on my border. All right, a little bit of catapulting and shots happening. But we should maybe be able to flip Frankfurt in a turn or 2. Let's see, we've got 5 turns to take it, so we're in no rush by any stretch of the imagination. Let's bring you down. What is this? That's a free city. Cavalry. Why can't you shoot him? Oh, okay, because it's that. So I'll bring my knight in to deal with that. Put you into the city. We'll blast the city of Frankfurt once again. We have 1 more pillage to pull off here. We have a what you call it? A musketman corps. I also have a pretty strong pikeman because you're getting +8 combat strength. So this might work out in my favor if I can capture it this turn. I could capture it this turn. Do I want that pillage? I think I'm going to hold off for that 1 pillage rather than capturing it this turn, because I have a builder who can walk around and repair all these pillage tiles in any case. Right, university in here. I want to place another district. In particular, I would love to place a commercial hub of some kind in this city. It has negative amenities, but I really need that gold production. Also, maybe a neighborhood would not be far off the mark. If I were to put a commercial hub here, I could get up to +3 adjacency on it, so that's not too bad. So I'll place that. If I were to get a neighborhood, where would I put it? Also, I need farm triangles in here big time. This campus is never going to get adjacency, so I definitely feel like a neighborhood pretty welcome on this tile right here. So I'll tell you what, I'm actually going to prioritize getting a pair of builders in here to try to develop this city, because it's actually working a lot of really unimproved tiles and has been doing that for far too long. I've neglected this city. Maybe in some of the cities where I'm building military, it would have been better to build economic stuff, but I am kind of getting rewards from my military anyway. Harvest this, then we'll place another farm once we grab a barbarian artifact. We're mostly looking for culture from those artifacts, not tourism, so we don't really need to theme them. But this will just give the city the potential to grow a little bit and maybe work some more good tiles, get up to a population, place a couple of districts, and be a useful city in the long run. I'm telling you, farm triangles, they're amazing. If you can get a farm triangle into a city or even a couple of cities, it's just really, really good. Like there should be a farm triangle here, but it's pillaged. These horses need to be repaired. I think I have a couple of farm triangles throughout my empire. Like the amount of food surplus that they offer, like this farm triangle alone offers 2, 6, and 9. This is a 9 food surplus farm triangle right here. So if I work all 3 of these tiles, I end up with a bonus 9 food towards growth, which is actually partially why the city is struggling to grow, because it's such a high population that it's probably going to want a neighborhood as well. And a +3 neighborhood is probably okay, but there's a +4 right there hidden behind the city. So we'll get that neighborhood after the bombards. Let's plop down a mine on the coal. Very, very nice. That means more of our coal power plants are going to be fueled healthily. Settle down right here in Bib-Racte. We'll just grab ourselves a Granary Monument and keep this city churning. Pillage 1 more tile for gold. That's why we have such a good gold reserve right now, even though our economy isn't amazing. We'll capture this city. We have full loyalty in here. I could liberate it for 100 Diplo favor. I could hold on to it. What does this city represent? This city is going to drain luxury resources from me. So I would almost certainly need to eventually build an entertainment complex in here. Is the city worth holding? Are there any new luxuries inside of its borders or within range of it? And I don't think there are. So I've already gotten all the value I can get from this city, but I could take it on and start to improve it. I'm not having amenity troubles, really. There's a few of my cities that are like -1 amenity. But -1, again, it's only a 5% penalty to the yields if you go all the way down to -2. So I'm kind of okay with being a little bit low on amenities right now, especially because I can always get more entertainment complexes to make up for it, and also build the shopping mall to make up for it. So I think I'm going to keep this city and use it as a way to sort of advance my economy. It has a campus, it has all that stuff. So if we can start building up this city, it'll give me the loyalty pressure to maybe take a Manzabata and Mainz. Coal power plant in the capital, +14 production, let's go. If you're wondering where that 14 production is coming from, it's because this is getting 7 production from adjacency. That is then being doubled by my civic cards, and the coal power plant generates production based on the production adjacency bonus of the district, including boosts from cards. We'll grab a bank in Tervana. And speaking of, I think I'm going to prioritize gold tiles as well in here. Again, my economy is just so weak and it's constantly decreasing. Like every few turns, my amount of gold goes down because my number of units and buildings goes up. So this sort of bank stuff and working these slots are basically just me fighting the tide of my economy, constantly trying to pull me back. Lovely, we picked up mobilization so we can start combining some of our newer units together. And some of our older units as well. I've got a few floating around that I'd like to combine together. For example, if I bring you over here, you can combine with them. That'll reduce the amount of units I have to micromanage, but also increase the individual power of each unit and my army maintenance, which is always really nice. Bring our bombards to bear on Mainz, and we'll move musketmen forward as well and start flanking with some cavalry charges. We can get a few pillages in here. Mainz isn't going to be super useful at all this game. Probably better off raising it, but I'm going to see if I can get value from it because it is extra cities that I didn't have to build settlers for, right? Right, bank is completed in Lysu. Oh man, a lot of our tiles got just absolutely demolished on food there, which means the city is working this really terrible tile. I would say avoid food, maybe. Why are you choosing to work this over this? I wish I could just like right click a tile to tell a city to never work it. So what I'll have to do is manually enforce these tiles like this. I think that's reasonable. Yeah, that's pretty good to me. I think I'll just have to do some manual management. I was hoping that the city manager would do it, but sometimes in situations like this where, you know, your tiles get milled out of it, you know, doesn't always make the right decisions. We also get Levy en Masse, which reduces maintenance cost by 2 per unit, which should jump us up to a healthy 70 gold per turn. Here's another instance where it can be worth it to harvest. I could build a camp here, which would give me a 2 food, 2 production, 2 gold tile. But I could alternatively harvest and then build a mine here. I'm kind of not sure. It can be a bit of a double-edged sword in Tundra. There's often not a lot of food up here to be had anyway. But this city doesn't need to grow. By harvesting, I could get things like my Oppidum up and running really, really quickly. Spy stole 300 gold. Perfect. Let's bomb Mainz. City is now essentially surrounded. We can start pillaging for stuff as well. You'll shoot next turn. I have a cavalry army who will do significant work over the next few turns as well. Bring up another cavalry army. Got my siege tower en route. I'm going to leave you this pikeman garrisoning the city. I'm also going to chop to try and get the city up and running faster. At least down to 1 build charge left on this guy. Economics unlocked, giving me access to the stock exchange. That's going to be a great help to my economy once I have power online. Speaking of which, I already have powered a few cities. I would like to get a little bit more power. I think I need some more power plants. I've been kind of slacking on that front, but I think we're good to start working on things like neighborhoods in my capital. I think we've delayed chemistry too long now. I don't have any choice but to go for it. Oh, nice. We got Gustav Eiffel. I don't think anyone else is close to a great engineer, so we can recruit him quite safely. And man, I really want James Watt. He's one of the best guys in the entire game. Again, kind of like last time, I have a wonder builder, but I don't really have anywhere to build a wonder. I would maybe build Ruhr somewhere, but I don't see it. It needs to be built on a river adjacent to an industrial zone with a factory. I probably could have built it here, but that's no longer the case. And there's not a lot of rivers up here. There's really not a civ that can take advantage of that very easily, to be honest. And so I might just have to accept that I'm not going to build the Ruhr this game and maybe plan around a different wonder. But what do I even go for? Like Biosphere or I don't know. Yeah, he might just sit there uselessly, actually. So, I mean, that's the fate that he has wrought upon himself by joining my empire. Continuing to shoot Mainz, making progress. Lovely, I completed my first neighborhood. That gave me a little bit more era score. I still need 27 era score in 17 turns. That's going to be a rough one. I even have the Taj Mahal. Also, I misclicked there. I didn't mean to shoot those with my artillery. So that's going to make the city take an extra turn. I'm making about 100 production in my capital, and it's about the time of the game where I start reconsidering where I put my trade routes. I need to start putting them into my capital to maximize its productivity. I also need to find flatland tiles. I don't think I have a flatland tile in my capital. Oh, I do. I have these over here. Right, let me go ahead and put a spaceport pin and an encampment pin over here to remind myself not to use these up. Now, I don't really have anything left to build in my capital, so I could tell them to force work the specialist slots in my campus, which would net me an extra 4 science per turn, which isn't bad. I would lose out on about 10 production. 10 production right now in my capital doesn't do much for me. I have nothing I can build that's worthwhile, right? I could maybe invest it into here, but it would be far more efficient to lose 10 production and get 4 science than convert 10 production into 1.5 science through the campus research grant. I'm trying to think, is there any other districts that I could maybe use as well? But no, I think the campus is the one here. And I want to just highlight this sort of small micromanagement stuff because it's just useful to know how to do this. Might be worth it to put lumber mills on these as well to have more science orientation. I mean, it's not a huge amount of science by any stretch of the imagination, but like if you're going to be doing campus research grants in your city anyway, you may as well get the science efficiently. Just for the sake of fun, right? A brand new turn just started. So I'm going to show you what it looks like when I play an entire turn without deleting any of the footage. I'm also not going to talk when I do this, right? So here we go. And there you go. That's a full turn. And so that's kind of what it looks like, a lot of the footage. And that's why I'm cutting it out. Because a lot of the decisions I made with units, they take multiple turns to execute. So there's not always something interesting to say with a unit. So I just try to quickly get through the turn and get to the interesting part of the gameplay. Also, we got replaceable parts. This gives us +1 food adjacency for every farm if they're adjacent to another farm, which means farms like this are now even better. Farm triangles are even better. Normally they would be, without the farm adjacency, these would be 2 food, 1 production. Then they become 3 food, 1 production. And now they're 4 food, 1 production. And they could even go higher if I placed more farms beside them. But these are just really, really nice tiles now. Power plant in Baggy. It's been converted by Catholicism. I don't have much to do in this city. I could, for example, run these projects. I could also continue to expand my empire, or even get builders to take the builder burden off a few of these cities, because I think I have just a few cities that are working some unimproved tiles. If I kind of have a quick flick through, most of my cities are actually working improved tiles if I look at it. So probably better off just to optimize the city for science gain. So I'll disable all of this, set the city to focus on science, and just let it rip. Maybe science and food. Science and food means they don't work science. So I will tell you what, I'll lock in that many scientists and then tell you to focus on food. Also, I want a neighborhood in here if I can get it. Neighborhoods aren't amazing, but they can be handy to sort of maintain your late game cities in terms of housing and or amenities. So I'll just pop down a +4 one right there. I don't know, some people think neighborhoods are useless. I think they have their place sometimes, and I always try and take advantage of that place that they have. Combine these bombards together. I have another bombard walking its way over. I've got a pretty robust army, which makes me fairly happy. I'm worried about this. Let's pull you back. I will take depredation so you can pillage more effectively. And then we'll just kind of let this happen here. I did just get Reyna, so I can pop her in there to buy a bit more time, and then maybe I'll be able to conquer these other cities in the fog of war. If I'm going to do that, I'll want to move forward with my bombards. Oof, that's scary. Free city infantry are pretty terrifying. I think that's the Congo that is doing that. So we'll need to be ready. Victor, you do have garrison commander. The population of these cities are just so high that it's hard to maintain them. I might lose mites. That's okay, because it mostly exists as a stepping stone over to here anyway. All right, Lysiu, I don't know how to say this, but I definitely want the stock exchange in here. If we check the power map mode, the city's already powered, so we don't need the coal power plant. We would rather get the gold here, because gold is more valuable to me than production, because my gold is so low. This would represent a huge boost to my gold income in this city, because I would be able to put another citizen in here, which means that would be another +4 gold in this city, but it also adds +2 gold to each one. So I go from making 8 gold per turn from 2 citizens to making, it becomes 6 gold per citizen, so times 3. I go from 8 gold to making 18 gold. So it triples the amount of gold you get from working these specialist slots if you get something like the stock exchange. So the tier 3 building is massive, especially for something like gold. When I said triple, I mean more than doubles is what I meant to say. My brain got excited, and I was like, it's triple, and I was wrong. It's not triple. It's slightly more than double, okay? Avaricum is now powered. Did I go for a neighborhood in here? I think a neighborhood in here would be good. And this would be one of the cities where I would actually consider a food production neighborhood rather than a amenity production neighborhood, because this city just kind of lacks raw food and it's fairly low population. It's kind of the choice you make between your neighborhoods. Are they going to be producing gold and amenities for me? Or are they going to be producing food to kind of grow the city taller? And really, that's kind of it's an interesting trade-off decision that you have to make. Like, for example, in Bibrax already has a pretty big population. So do we really need another 6 food to feed this? Well, maybe we would if this city had, for example, a campus, and I was planning to work the campus district. I would maybe consider going for a food market, but I think I would rather put down a shopping mall in here for the extra 4 gold and extra 2 amenities, because that means I would be less dependent on luxury resources for amenities in this city, and it already could get an entertainment complex, for example, to sort of lower that dependency even more, which I think I will do. I want to try to make my empire less dependent on luxuries, because typically in the late game, you kind of get less access to them. And I have so many cities at this point that luxuries are starting to stretch really thin. Lovely. There is sanitation, giving us access to the medic. And we do want a medic, actually. So I will go ahead and... Can I upgrade you into the medic? So the siege tower is no longer really useful. So we'll turn that into a medic, because that'll let us heal our units a little bit quicker. And we need to start thinking about what we're going to do with this city. I think pillaging is going to be a big part of what we do here. And I also need to combine some units together. I've got a bit of a problem with this infantry too, so we got rid of him. And I have a big problem with this city. I need to get units actually, on hills and stuff to hit it, but that's a bit of a struggle. And then we'll have this city flipping independent behind us in 2 turns, so a lot going on. Unfortunately, I don't think we're going to be able to break this city, so I think this is where my little expedition ends on this front. And you know what? I'm going to call it the end of this episode too. Next episode, we're going to be getting research labs in all of our cities and potentially doubling or even tripling our science once we plug in our science cards, because we need to catch up with China, who potentially will be getting rocketry soon. If we take a look at the tech screen, they are a total of 2 technologies ahead of me. So we have caught up significantly this game. However, I would be suspicious if China was not beelining for rocketry and was only a few turns away or had a lot of backfill to do. So we'll call that the end of the episode. I love you all very much, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye-bye!